I've got a question for you. Why did the number 5 bring a ladder to math class? Any guesses? Well, because it wanted to round up the whole class. Pretty good, right? All right, today we're going to learn a valuable math skill, rounding to the nearest 10 with 3-digit numbers. Rounding helps us to estimate numbers quickly and easily. Let's dive in. We know that when rounding to the nearest 10, we look at the number in the ones spot. That's the number that tells us whether we round up or down. If that number is 4 or below, we give it a rest. So 4 or less, give it a rest. We know that if it's 5 and above, we can remember to round up by saying we give it a shove. 5 and above, give it a shove. Now, to round a 3-digit number to the nearest 10, we look to the number in the ones place once again. And once again, if it's 0 to 4, we round down or give it a rest. And if it's 5 and above, we give it a shove or we just say we round up. Now, let's take a look at the number 368. Look at which number is in the ones place. Is that 5 and above or 4 or less? Well, 8 I know is 5 and above, so I'm going to give it a shove to 370. All right, now I'm going to give you a few to try on your own. What is 425 to the nearest 10? Did you come up with 430? That's correct, because we know that 5 is 5 and above. We give it a shove to 430. All right, let's do some rounding practice for rounding 3-digit numbers to the nearest 10. The number 375, what would that round to? Go ahead and write it down. Have your answer ready. If you're not sure, pull up your number line. What number would it round down to if it were to round down? Nearest 10, it would be 370. If I were to round up, it would be 380. Well, looking at that 10 spot, I can see we've got a 7, but next to that, since we're rounding to the nearest 10, is the 1 spot, and it is the number 5. So to round 375 to the nearest 10, that is 5 and above, so I'm going to give it a shove. So my answer is 380. 229, rounded to the nearest 10. Go ahead and write that down. If I look on my number line, I know if I were to round down, I just have to add a 0 instead of the ones place. So that would be 220. If I round up, I would add 10 to that 220, and that would be 230. Well, once again, I'm looking at the number in the ones place, which is a 9. 9 is 5 and above, so I'm going to give it a shove to 230. 845. What would I round that to? Well, if I look at my number line, I know if I rounded down, it would be 840, but if I rounded up, it would be 850. Let's look at that ones place. It's a 5. It's 5 and above. I'm going to give it a shove to 850. 683. If I were to round down, I know I just have to take out that 3 and add a 0. That puts me at 680. Add 1 to the tens place. That'd be 690. However, that 3 tells us it's 4 or less. I'm going to give it a rest to 683. 893. Write it down on your board. Have it ready. If I look on the number line, 893 falls between 890 and 900. Well, that 3 is what tells us it's 4 or less. Go ahead and give it a rest to 890. 428 to the nearest 10. I know if I look at my number line, it would fall between what two numbers? Those two numbers would definitely be 420 and 430. Once again, since I'm rounding to the tens place, I'm going to look at the ones place, which is an 8, which tells me I round up to 430. 152 might be a tricky one. Think of your number line. What two numbers would 152 fall between if I was rounding to the nearest 10? We know it would round down either to 150 or round up to 160. Well, that 2 is what tells us that 2 is 4 or less, so we're going to give it a rest and round to 150. You may be asking yourself, why do we round numbers? Well, rounding is handy in everyday situations. For instance, when you're shopping, you can quickly estimate the cost of items, or when you're measuring ingredients for a recipe, rounding can help make your calculations easier. Rounding numbers may seem like a math skill just for school, but it's actually a superpower you can use every day. Imagine you're shopping and you want to quickly estimate the total cost of items. Rounding can save the day. When you're sharing your candy with friends, rounding can help make sure everyone gets their fair share. So keep practicing your rounding skills, and soon you'll be a rounding hero in no time at all. You've got this. Math is all around us, and rounding makes it even more fun and useful. Keep up the great work.